Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So it's the end of the month, which means it's time for another reading wrap up. We've only got 2 books to talk about this month, so this will probably be a really short video, but anyway, let's get into it. The first book that I read in September was Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. In simplest terms, a group of 6 misfits pull off the heist of the century. In longer terms, this is a young adult fantasy set in Bardugo's Grishaverse, and the first in the Six of Crows duology. It follows 6 kids, Kaz, Inej, Jesper, Wylan, Nina, and Mateus, as they are hired by the government to break into the most secure prison in the world and escape with a brilliant scientist in exchange for tens of millions of dollars, aka riches beyond their wildest dreams. And the government wants the scientist prisoner because he knows how to create like a very powerful new drug that when taken by Grisha, aka people with magical powers, it enhances their abilities to god level strength, but it's super dangerous and addictive. I gave this a 3.8 out of 5. Okay, so I love the original Grisha trilogy and the Shadow and Bone TV series on Netflix, which includes the characters from this duology. So I was very excited to read this. Having read it, yeah, y'all overhyped it. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Don't burn me at the stake. I know everyone and their grandmother loves this book and thinks it's like a great piece of fine literature that belongs in like the Library of Congress as well as the Louvre. But y'all, it ain't worthy of all that. It's a good book. I liked it. I'm just not madly obsessed with it the way everyone else is. Now, I can also recognize that on a technical level, this is better written than the Shadow and Bone trilogy. And Miss Bardugo should be very proud for creating an intricate story with a lot of moving parts, and POVs and backstories, and everything turning out pretty well in the end, because this is not an easy feat to accomplish by any means, and few writers are able to do it, so hats off to her. So on a technical level, I can recognize that this is good. This is a very well crafted book. Personally, the first like 60% of this book was boring to me. I'm so sorry. The most interesting parts of it during the first like 60% were whenever it referenced things from the original Grisha trilogy. Other than that, I was like falling asleep. But when they finally got to the ice court and the heist actually took place, it got very interesting and very exciting very quickly. The sneaking in, the disguises, the kids being forced to face their worst fears, the twist with the prisoner they were after, the escape, Nina's sacrifice, it was all great. And the stuff that happened afterward that leads into the next book was also amazing. I loved it. Now, this is a very character focused book, so let's discuss the characters a little bit and their backstories quickly. So, first up, we have Kaz, the leader. He was pretty cool, and I liked following him. His backstory with the dead brother is slightly more tragic here than in the show, especially the part where he has to use like his brother's corpse as a raft to survive in the ocean. Like, that sounds traumatizing. Oh my god. So, yeah, Inej, the assassin, she is so little sister to me. Like, her early chapters in the book definitely felt like they were more Kaz focused than about her, but eventually that stopped, so okay. I personally just loved Inej. She was so iconic. She definitely has the backstory that broke my heart the most, being kidnapped and sold into sex slavery. Like, I can't even imagine what that poor girl went through at the menagerie. Like, oh my god. Therapy, therapy. Everybody in this book needs therapy, but Inej especially needs therapy. Like, it's true. Well, Inej and Cass especially need therapy. Next, Jesper, the gunsmith. He felt more interesting in the Netflix show, to be honest. And I think a big part of that is just the actor who plays him. Like, I really think the actor who plays Jesper in the show really brought more pizzazz to him than he is written in the books. I don't know why. I don't know why. It's just something about him felt more interesting in the show than here. Like, his chapters are mostly focused on flirting with Wylan and keeping that boy in the plot, cause you know what, we're gonna save that rant for in a minute anyway. The way the reveal about Jess being a Grisha is written felt like it just kind of came out of left field, to be honest. Like, of course, I was expecting it because I've watched the show, but even still, it felt like it kind of came out of nowhere in this book. Like, it just. I was also kind of disappointed that even though he's supposed to be the gunslinger of the group, he really doesn't sling guns. Half the time he's told to put them away and use his abilities as a fabricator instead, and I'm just like, why? Like, let's shoot somebody, please. Let's shoot some people up, please. Like, that's supposed to be his role, so it's like, we already have one Grisha in the group, so let's just have him shoot up people like he's supposed to, you know? Anyway, his backstory definitely felt the least fleshed out to me, and it's probably because like everyone else felt like they got like 3 dedicated chapters to talking about their backstory, while Jesper just kind of gets a few paragraphs here and there about his. Anyway, up next, Nina. I have the same mixed feelings about her here as I do with her in the show. When she isn't simping over Mateus, she's really interesting and fun to follow, and I actually really like her backstory. Like, it got me excited, because I didn't know she was my girl Zoya's Padawan back in Ravka. Like, that was a very interesting piece of information to learn. I loved learning that. But when Nina is around Mateus or like thinking about him or whatever, she becomes very annoying very quickly. And yes, I realize a large part of that is just because I can't stand Mateus and want him to drown in the ocean or something. But like, yeah, Nina on her own is great. Nina with her man or her boy, not so great. Speaking of that Fredrin bitch, I hated him in the show and I hated him here. Yes, his arc is about overcoming bigotry, and by the end, he's beginning to unlearn all the hateful bullshit he was taught for years. Like, I get it. But even still, I can't stand him. And I'm gonna ask the question that we all should be asking here. Why are Nina and Mateus the main couple of this book? Did I miss something? You've got the gay twinks Jesper and Wylan that have a cute little annoyed co-workers to lovers arc and are absolutely adorable in the show. And you've also got Kaz and Inej's pining but never committing because he's scared to let himself feel anything deep for anyone again, and she respects herself too much to not wait around for him, and it's so heartfelt yet tragic. Like, they're, like, you want them to end up together, but you know they probably won't, but it's cute. So we got these two really interesting couples that could be, you know, main couple material. So it's like, why the hell is the witch and the witch hunter, who are extremely toxic to and for each other in every possible way, and do nothing but fight the entire time, why are they the main ship of this shit? I need an explanation for that. Because I don't understand. You've got these two other potential cute couples standing right over there, but you choose the most toxic and annoying couple to focus on? What? No. But what I need a bigger explanation on is why the hell did Wylan not get his own POV in this book? How is the book titled Six of Crows, yet there's only 5 POVs? But if we must cut one of the 6 out, why the hell did we have to suffer through Mateus's POV instead of getting adorable nerdy Wylands? Like, why did we have to have Mateus's POV? Explain that to me. Miss Bardugo, I'm charging you with a hate crime for that. I am. Yes, I know Wylan allegedly gets a POV in the next book, but I'm just bitter. I am just bitter that my boy didn't get one in this book. Meanwhile, I was tortured being inside the Republican's head. Like, why? One last thing I wanted to mention was that I found everything with the Grisha to be very interesting and like a nice expansion to the lore. Because after seeing Grisha live in palaces and be like respected war leaders for 3 books, it was really interesting seeing how others outside of Ravka had to live. Of course, we were always told that the outside world was horrible to Grisha, you know, that's why the Darkling does everything that he does, for crying out loud, But to actually see these magicians live in hiding, be slaves, get hunted and burned at the stake for how they were born was still very jarring, but also like a great way to shake up like Grisha Trilogy stands' view of the world. Like, oh, we ain't in Ravka anymore. Like, we're actually fighting for our lives, even in times of peace now. Oh, okay. So like I really loved that. I really loved, seeing how just like Grisha outside of, Ravka live and like how scared they are for their lives basically. Overall, there were things that I absolutely loved about this book and things that bored and annoyed me. I have all the Grishaverse books, so yes, I will be reading the next one, and it actually sounds like it could be more interesting than this one, so here's hoping. I'll be honest though and say I'm more so excited to eventually get to the King of Scars duology, because then we'll finally be back to some of the original Shadow and Bone characters that I fell in love with personally. Moving right along, the other book that I finished in September was Five Survive by Holly Jackson. This is a young adult thriller about 6 kids who go on a road trip for spring break, but things quickly get deadly. They get lost in the woods, and soon a sniper does everything possible to trap them there and make it impossible to call for help. The sniper tells the group that one of them has a secret he wants and that they need to figure it out so the person with the secret can die while the rest of them, live. Now trapped in an RV with life or death on the line, things plunge into madness as truths are revealed, trust is betrayed, and only 5 survive the night. I gave this a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Okay, so I loved Holly Jackson's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. I gave all the books 5 stars. It was amazing. So, I was really excited to get this, especially since I loved the idea of like a claustrophobic thriller, because they're all trapped in the RV, so like it's like close quarters and like things are getting intense, but they can't really leave each other, no matter how much they are getting on each other's nerves. And it's just, the idea of that sounded very interesting to me. But yeah, this just didn't work for me. The first, 60%, 60% again. Apparently there's a trend with the first 60% this month. But anyway, the first 60% was so boring to me. Like, the thought of DNFing occurred slightly, I won't lie. Then, when the second and third secret came out with Oliver and Reina, things got pretty darn interesting, and the atmosphere got really intense and had me on edge and stressed and scared, and I loved it. It was getting really good at that point. Like, okay, I won't lie. At that point, the plot still wasn't really doing it for me, but the atmosphere for like a good 25% of this book just had me so on edge. Like I could feel the hair rising on the back of my neck. I was getting heated, like physically, like I was starting to warm up. Like, oh my god, I was stressed. There were like nerves in my hand shaking. Like if it was good. Like no other thriller has done that to me, but this one did for like a good 25%, and it was cool. Like I really liked that part. Just the atmosphere of that like 25% was really really good. But then when we got to the end at about 90% of the way, it all fell apart, and I got fed up honestly. When the actual secret came out and the twists started happening, it all just felt so soap opera-y. And it was also just like one twist after another constantly. Like, oh my gosh, enough. Just one right after another, just twist upon twist upon twist upon twist. It's like, stop. Let me breathe and process what just happened before you introduce yet another wrench in things. Stop. The twists were twisting for the sake of being twist, basically, is what I'm saying. And when it was all like said and done, like the full picture of how we got in the situation was, revealed, it was outlandish and far-fetched. It quite much. Like there was like mafia and like lawyer betrayals, double agent shit or whatever. I don't know that. I don't know. There was just a whole bunch of shit. The full picture of what happened was quite outlandish and far fetched, but I can also suspend my disbelief just enough, like just enough to say, okay, yeah, that could happen. Like, okay, like, yeah, okay. And the ending itself, the resolution was alright. Like, I liked it enough. Although, I didn't really like how the resolution was presented to us. Like, one of the characters wrote the main character a letter detailing what happened and basically being like, oh, then this happened, and you did this in the aftermath, and then you did this, and your friend did that. And it was very obviously for the sake of telling the audience what happened afterwards, but it was like, the presentation just felt very awkward. Yeah. Now, spoilers. Because I do want to mention a few things that are major spoilers, so skip to this section in the video if you don't want to be spoiled. Okay? We good? Everyone that wants to be gone is gone? Good. Now then. I am so glad that Oliver was the one to die. I hated that bitch so much. And yes, I know you're supposed to hate him and want him to die, that's the point, but damn, I am so glad he got murdered. He was so abusive to everyone in that RV, screaming all the time, getting people killed, putting everyone else in danger and never himself, demanding everyone follow whatever he orders them to do, physically assaulting people, sexually harassing, a few of them, especially Red, trying to gaslight everyone into thinking all the problems was everyone else's fault and he's never done anything bad ever, literally trying to murder Red and Arthur at one point, nearly letting Maddie, his sister, nearly die. Oh my god. He needed to die. Like, I don't fucking care. And I don't care what the secret was or who had it. He needed to die. Red could have said she murdered a whole town of people, and I would have still said Oliver should have died instead. Like, he was so infuriating. But that is the point of his character, so you know what? Miss Jackson, you did well in that respect. You got me to hate him like you wanted. And you know what? I don't blame Raina for cheating on him, honestly. I don't condone it. It's still a bad thing to do. But I don't blame her. I really don't. He was an asshole. So you know what? I really don't blame her for being like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm gonna go find a man that actually treats me with respect. I don't blame her for doing that. And I also don't blame her for still sticking around him, even though she didn't like him anymore. Like, he's rich, and she likely has student loans. Like, she is in medical college. She's likely in debt. She's likely buried in student loans. So, like, hell yeah. Try and take him for what he's worth. He's annoying as fuck. He is shit. Take him for what he's worth, Raina girl. Do it. Good for you. Well, that's the 2 books I read in September. So, what do I want to read in October? Okay, well, first, I want to finish A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I spent my Audible credit on it this month, aka September, but oh my god, it's just so long. It's so fucking long. I've been reading for half a month and I still have 8 hours to go on the audiobook. It's so long. But anyway, so far it's fine. It's fine. It's just fine. Like the first one. Nothing too outstanding or nothing too terrible either. It's just fine. Also, I do want to read I Kissed Sarah Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. I loved their first 2 books and have been obsessed with them all year. So let's try and shoot for 3 now. I figured since it's advertised as more of a mystery, October would be a fitting month to read it. I do also have Mistakes Were Made by Meryl Wilsner downloaded onto my Audible just because, I got an extra credit. That's just how the way things worked. I don't know why, but anyway. But I do have that book, and if I have time, I will get to it. But if I don't have time, we'll push it off to November. So, And if I could, I would like to read The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turned. It's another mystery, which, wow, reading mysteries during spooky season, I am such a revolutionary. I am such an innovationist. Wow. But it looks fun. It looks interesting. I love the cover. It's really pretty. So I'm curious about it. I'm curious what it is. Also, I'm currently reading Suns Will Rise by Jessica Brody and Joanne Rundell. I do not expect to finish it by November. I'm just putting it in here so like we can establish that I've started reading it, even though no one's gonna remember that I started reading it until I bring it up again. But I'm hoping to have that finished by at least the end of the year. Like at least the end of the year. I'm 100 pages in out of 700, so let's shoot for at least the end of the year. And I'm really loving it so far. I'm really enjoying it. It's interesting. But anyway, that's everything from me this month. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Have you read any of these books? And if you have, what did you think of them? I'll talk to you next time. Bye.